create an endpoint and try to work toward that endpoint over a period of time. And so for us, that's how we define focus. This is where we're trying to get to. These are the people that you need to work with. And it's interesting, the other thing that strikes me in philanthropy is there are people that say, well, we fund grassroots, or we fund education, or we fund science, or we fund policy work. And what we found is that if you have a very strong focus, you realize, well, you need to fund all of those things, because you need all of those things to get to your endpoint. You need communities on site, you need the science, you need to work with businesses, you need to understand the policy framework, you need to hire people to do lawsuits if they have to do that. And then it makes a really interesting ecosystem of organizations.
Sometimes almost a whole supply chain of
exactly.
organizations
Yeah, exactly.
that need to be funded. Anyone else struggled with this question of being either too unfocused or too focused?
It's not really a struggle. I think it's a kind of a definition of the niche in which you want to place your action, but also the issues we try to address. I mean, some foundation are clearly focused on issue-based, on geographical areas, which are chosen initially by the founder or the group of founder. And in that case, if you take a geographical area or an issue, yes, you need to address all the components of this issue at one point or another to have a real impact. Others are probably chosen to don't look at issues, but look at a group like species or things. It's very wide, but place your action into a niche which is complementary to others, and being also acknowledging your limitation as what you can do in time. So I think it's not really a very big debate. I mean, it's really, again, I am coming back to the individual aspect of choosing a direction for a philanthropy, which is very much at the core of the decision which was taken. These debates happen, and I think in all philanthropy there is a cycle also when as soon as you get deeper into an issue or you get more hooked up, you want to do more, and sometimes you're pulled by the opportunities and you keep switching back and forth. And I think it's sometimes accepting a certain limitation in your action. One of the things that I think foundation and philanthropy have, which is also very interesting, is the time. Okay. The founder or the originator of foundation is not bound to a tenure. Is there for a long time. So you can also experiment. You can try. You can afford mistake. You can have a corrective course, and you can evolve in your thinking. And I think very often organization or conservation organization or other, or the executive who are there, do not have this luxury of time. They've got to prove something quickly in 2, 3, 4 years. A foundation is to some extent more stable, with cycle, with ups and downs, with the learning curve, but that allows also to be a little bit more experimental in your approach to this definition of focus, not focus. And I think we all come back and forth in that.
Jessica?
Well, just coming from the nonprofit world, I agree exactly with that difference, and I think that it's a tremendous luxury in the foundation world to be able to experiment and to be flexible and nimble. And for each foundation, as Bruce noted, the individuality of foundations, the uniqueness, each one probably does it in its own way. And when I came on board to our foundation in 2009, we were spread way too thin. We had real issues geographically in terms of our substantive area. And I was fortunate that my board, in making this transition to new leadership, was open to a process of articulating a new strategic direction. They don't always remember it when we sit down to make decisions about grants. They go back to what they really like. But we're trying to get it more and more codified and with criteria and even kind of a rubric so that we can rank things and as it directs as different proposed projects relate to our actual mission, and it's helped a lot. And I think it's a constant evolution. What I wish we could do is work more at landscape scale, really identify some priority landscapes in some places, and maybe we will be moving in that direction, but it's a slow process.
Ken and then Andre.
Just very quickly throwing into this debate, one of the challenges on the focus argument is, where do you allow ideas and creativity to come from? So as we as foundations become narrower and narrower and more convinced that our great idea of the solution is this, and more just doing it, and so on and so forth, we restrict, of course, the number of new ideas, the number of other truths that can be expressed and come in and maybe change our direction. So that's the cost of focusing. On the other hand, if you listen to everybody, you hear 10,000 ideas, you never make any serious commitment to any particular approach. So that's often why we go through the kind of flip-flop that you so eloquently described, that when we've gone too far one way, we then go too far the other way, but over the long term, hopefully we get it.
Potentially.
Well, I'd like to go back to the remark that Ashok made at the beginning, a little opening remark. Clearly, big changes in society, in the way we construct ourselves, have a lot to do with independence of thinking and long-term thinking. Now, foundations are absolutely crucial in that respect. A foundation should take risks, a foundation should get out of the existing field, a foundation should think differently. And all the focus and all the business plan of the universe will not really change that. From time to time, there's going to be a step, a risk, and the foundation is best equipped for that. The example that comes to my mind is pharmaceutical research. If you're interested in getting some research done, you write two types of grant, one for the Gates and one for the rest of the world. The Gates has changed the way we do research very effectively. And I think that it is very important that we realize that this is the power of foundations. If united we can do something, if united we can take a risk together, we can really make a big difference. So I all agree with the message that we need to focus, that we need to be concentrated on our existing fields, but we also need to be that part of taking a chance, taking a risk, making a big bold step forward. We can do that because we are not democratic and accountable. We are exactly and that's important. That's
I heard accountability earlier. We're not. All right. We are accountable or we're not. Okay. I want to throw out one more general question, which I'm actually fearful of throwing it out because it's one of those questions that could, really absorb a lot of time. But I'm going to put it out there for just a few minutes, and then we're going to move to your questions. So, and we're going to see if we can take them in a set of three. So, I want a time limit on this. So, we all see a lot about ecosystem services and valuing ecosystem services. We talked a little bit about that earlier. I know in my own organization we've had 2 academies at our annual meeting about ecosystem services. There's a great interest in this, how people are working on it, and of course that term covers a myriad of subjects and activities. So I guess I would pose the question, or as we discussed, it's actually Adam in our lunch who posed the question of, have we stopped too soon in the intrinsic in valuing nature for itself, the intrinsic value that nature has for all of us, and opened ourselves up to market valuation perhaps a little too early? And maybe we've done this because of what's happened in the world economies. We in the US, in Europe, other economies continuously. So, where are we with this? Are we going too far? Have we not gone far enough? Where will we be? Adam and Bruce? And I'll time you, Adam.
This whole ecosystem services value of nature thing deeply, deeply bothers me. People walking around with environmental courts saying what pays stays. So you're putting life on Earth in death row, and you get a pardon if you can prove you have a service to nature. And I do think lots of nature, we think the nature that's easy to argue as a service, we can put a, there's this idea that we put a price on there, we can, there's a value to it, then we can add it to our economic system, etc., and it works, but never mind the problems with that. I mean, that's a whole, I can't get into that now. But a bigger problem is what about those creatures that really can't pay their way? So do we do this with humans? Do we do this as a society? If you can't pay your way, you don't have financial worth, we just get rid of you. I mean, I think we've evolved to that point where we don't think that way. Now this is what we want to introduce into our thinking about nature. So it's a bigger discussion, but I'm visually, intellectually, emotionally very interested.
Thank you, Bruce.
Well, I'll be a lot less philosophical and emotional, but to me it's almost like asking, what do you think of software? Ecosystem services is a tool, and you use it when you need to use it, but I wouldn't use it to drive decision making or think that it's the overarching framework for how we should be thinking about our work.
Thank you. And Ken, you want to?
So about 20 years ago, I was working in the Zambezi Valley, and the African Biodiversity Foundation, is that right? So I think it was what we were called then. No, it wasn't that long. No, this was 20 years ago. So they came across. They came to me and they said, well, we have found that nearly all the botanical or much of the botanical diversity in the Zambezi Valley is concentrated in these sacred forests that scatter around the valley. So we want to go and work with them and the local communities and work out how we can maintain this diversity of these forests. So I said, sure. So they went off and they did that. And they came back and said, this was really interesting. Because we went to them and we said, well, it seems that you're conserving most of the important diversity of the system, so we're trying to find ways to help you generate income from that. And one of those is that we want to bring bird watchers to look at the Angolan pita, which there's a number of you may be enthusiasts of, which particularly like these sacred forests. But the community said no. The community said, this is what they reported back to me, the community said that if you structure into our society that the reason that we preserve these sacred forests is because we're earning an income from the bird watchers who want to see the Angolan pita or anything else, then these forests will not last another 1,000 years, another 2,000 years, because there will be some years when this isn't going to make us any money. And if we're looking after nature, if we're looking after these forests only because they generate money, you're going to destroy what it is about our society and our relationship with those places, which is sustaining diversity of that system. So I think, I don't disagree at all with Bruce. I think it's a very important tool. We should be using ecosystem services and all the rest of it. But we mustn't respond to the current moment we're living in human history, if you like, where money is supposedly the measure of everything. We've got to keep alive the other strands of valuing. And a lot of that means we've got to listen to people who are trying to live outside of the money maximization system, indigenous and traditional societies, who have other values which I think are going to help us endure this very difficult next decade, and decades and centuries.
Thank you. I think we'll be continuing to have this discussion within our memberships as time goes on. I'd like to invite those of you who might have a question for either the panel or a panelist to step up to the mic and ask it. I'd like to take down about 3 questions and then figure out to whom we would throw them. And I would say, for the most, I have a prize. I have a prize for who asks the most intriguing question. It's a vintage Barack Obama campaign button. The luster may be a bit dim, but it still shines bright. It's vintage. Sorry, I didn't pack any Romney buttons, but anyway, so I do have a prize. So please state your name and your questions.
Thank you.
Should be on, yes?
Thank you very much. With that prize, I decided to make a boring question. My name is Paul Ingrid Peterson. I'm Deputy Director General of IUCN. A year ago, I was heading a state's bilateral donor, one of the larger ones. Both in that position and in my present position, we were under heavy pressure to show results, and good quality results. Now it's great to hear from all of you, you have all this flexibility, and that some of you may not even have any accountability. But aren't you under pressure to show impact and results? If not, then I'm worried.
All right, that's stimulating. Let's hear another one.
Yes, I'm Bob Peart from Canada. There's a bit of a yin and yang here that I'm wondering about. One of them is the climate change issue. What I'm not getting a sense of is a real urgency. If the use of all carbon stopped tomorrow, we've got a 70 to 100 year lag before we start to see a dip. And resilience is fundamental. But I'm just not hearing that reflected in the conversation. On the other side, we've been hearing comments about political will. Canada right now, we're in a bit of a bad spell. Do we just run on the spot for 3 years and hope something positive happens? But how do we combine this absolute utmost urgency, which I don't think is being reflected on the floor, with political will? And how do you work those back and forth, and have foundations got a role in that?
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, let's hear one more question, and then folks, if the rest of you with questions can just wait till the next round, okay? Yes.
Thanks. I'm Sarah Price with EFC International. Thanks for the very interesting panel today. And we've heard a lot about your priorities in investing in projects, investing in partners. But I was curious, as foundations, you have large endowments, large finances of your own. How much attention do you spend as organizations on where you invest your endowments, where you invest your own money, just to make sure that it's not in contravention to your own vision? You know, how do you balance higher returns with more ethical investment?
All right, very good. Let's see. If you can find a chair, your questioners, and then we will return to you. All right, who wants to take on the whole question of don't you feel any urgency to show results? Andre.
What I was trying to underline when I say that we have no responsibility, or we don't have to sort of demonstrate, was not the fact that we don't want to get the job done. Of course, doing the job implies that the result is for everybody to see. You want actions to be exemplary and to be able to lead other people into the same sort of activity. What I'm trying to say is that we are fully independent in the way we make our decisions. We are responsible to ourselves about the fact that our capital is being used in the best possible manner, and we must make sure that what we do has an impact on the subject we've chosen. But we do not do that because out of a sense of duty to certain institutions. We do that because we are philanthropists. With Rick Racine, we are not philanthropists, we love humanity. And that's why we do it, because we want to make a difference. I mean, I believe very strongly in that component of our work. And I don't think that the fact that I'm not accountable to a specific problem makes it less valid. The decision we take behind the interest of humanity in our vision of it. And that's the way it's said. I don't know if that gives an answer.
Andre? And then Marcel. Marcel, yeah, sorry. And then Adam. And Joe. Oh, everybody wants to go. Okay, very quickly. Quick answers. All right.
Beauty is the money that you get, you don't have to spend. So when you do decide to spend it, it has gone through a thorough thought process past the investment committee. And we're lucky that if we don't spend any money 1 year, it doesn't mean that we don't get a budget for next year. On the other hand, in our family business, there are several foundations and philanthropic institutions, and they all would like to spend money, so we're all somehow in competition with each other. But there's also a kind of balancing act that the family says, we don't want to put 100% into climate change and then nothing into education. So there's a self-regulating system, if you like, and it's, those who come with the best proposals will get funded.
Okay, Adam, quick answer to that question, please.
I think, just to reiterate Andre's point, I think if you're a nation state, you're accountable to lots of interest groups across the board. If you're an NGO, you've got to show your donors that you have results. I mean, I'm now set up an NGO and I have a foundation. You are accountable. Anyone who gives you any money in a charity, you need to show them results. You want to show them results. And the great George Soros quote says, philanthropy is about fighting losing battles. And that's the freedom of philanthropic money. And I think there's a lot of value that can't be measured. If you fund the ethics program, there's a lot of things that I think the most underfunded area that I think is the most important is the ethical intrinsic side of what we're doing, underpinning it. It's very hard to give it money because how do you measure it? And people want to see, especially if you're accountable to other people, you need to do things that can be measured. I'm not against accountability or measurement, but there's some very powerful levers that are hard to measure, and that is where philanthropists can come and make a real difference and put their money there.
Jessica, weigh in and then Fred.
Right, so not to debate the question of accountability any further, but more the question of urgency and the need for all of us to be educated and aware. And so I think one thing that is lacking, this is what I find having made that step between one world and the other, now being in the donor world, is that there need to be more spaces for practitioners and people who are on the ground, who are from the nonprofit world, to learn side by side with the foundation community, and or more to the point of the foundation community be learning side by side with them. In other words, there should be many more foundations represented at a gathering like this, so that people in our field can be really aware of the complexity of the problems and acting. It's happening.